Hi, I'm Dave, CEO of Spark, and welcome to Head to Head, where myself and Mike dive into sales promotions campaigns from the vault. The good, the bad, and the downright genius. We're unpacking what worked, what didn't, and what you can learn for your next sales promotion campaign. If you've got thoughts on this episode, we'd love to hear them. Pop them in the comments, and if you've enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you're the first to hear when we release a new episode. So back in the early 2000s, Walkers ran a campaign called Money Bags, where they gave away free cash in their bags of crisps, which we're going to have a look at and see what was good, bad, indifferent, and special about that particular campaign. So Mike, do you remember much about the early 2000s?
About the 90s and 2000s. I wasn't grey. Yes, I remember a little.
And do you remember the campaign? There were a lot of crisp brands around at the time.
No, I remember this one very well. It's a very powerful method, and I think in particular it's powerful because of how easy it is to take part in it.
Mm-hmm. Just buy the bag and open it.
Yeah. I can remember, all that time ago, we thought there were ways in which we could actually see through the bags, or we could somehow get around it. But it was a beautiful, simple method of creating conversation, first of all.
What about cash? I always think that, in fact, we used to talk about it years ago, where we used to try and actively encourage brands not to give away cash, because we all knew it was the most effective reward, but we as agencies struggled to make any money out of giving it away. Yeah. Walkers went with it and gave away cash. Why do you think that was sort of so important to the success of the campaign?
Well, it's interesting to think. I mean, it resonates with the time, doesn't it? It was, we got problems then as we have now with cost of living, and to be able to do something which was so straightforward, and actually put, not life-changing amounts of money, but which put a small amount of money in people's pockets and felt accessible because of that.
I don't know whether it was just me, because I was obviously of an age at the time where I was going out. I wasn't just going home and watching telly and falling asleep, quite frankly. But back then, it felt like around that time, people were going out a lot more. £5, £10, 20 quid in your pocket meant something quite different to what it would now. I think now if somebody gave me £5, £10, £20, it might just be a life stage thing. I'd feel guilty about thinking, oh great, that means I can have an extra night out this week, or I can go and have a pint, or I can do whatever. I'd be finding different things to do with it. Do you think it was different then to how it is now?
I think the audience, the people who were buying crisps, we're all buying them to a certain extent, but the people who are buying large numbers of them, it was such an easy and straightforward way of doing it. At that classic point of sale moment where you're thinking, which brand do I buy as I'm making my way through a supermarket, it was such a clever and straightforward differentiator for the brand. I know it was very successful, and you just. It's very easy to understand for everybody. Communication's easy, point of sale's easy. The whole every aspect of it made it just a resonant and a worthwhile thing to be doing at that time.
We don't carry cash now, do we? Or I don't. I'm not the Queen, but I tend not to carry cash, and I sort of wonder if today's equivalent of this is your £10 Amazon voucher or your 20 quid Amazon voucher, because it's as good as cash, isn't it? I don't know how I feel about whether a £20 Amazon voucher is of equal value to £20 cash. It sort of feels like £20 cash carries a bit more value to me than a voucher code, which perhaps would be what was used today.
Yeah, I think it's just slightly more complicated, isn't it? The Amazon aspect of it, and again, it's to do with the time, to do with the social situation where as you say, there's no cash around at all at the moment. So you'd have no choice, I guess, if you were going to rerun it and to do these kind of things. I can't remember really as to whether we thought at that time whether £5, £10 or £20 was a large amount of money. I don't think we did particularly.
20 quid felt like a lot to me, but it might just be because I was sort of a bit younger, and 20 quid, 20 quid then.
I
was different.
I think they were not life-changing songs, really, but they were intelligently placed so that they gave a reason for choosing one brand over another.
I think they did give away sort of free bags of crisps as well to sort of plump out the fund a bit. They did run the campaign again, actually. 2017, they ran it in a slightly different form. Instead of 5, 10, 20 quid, they gave it away as a week's pay, a month's pay, or an annual salary as a lump payment. I think they took some averages and worked it out, and you won that. I don't know whether that was a reflection of that. That's 15, nearly 20 years later. I don't know that was a reflection of the change in time, or perhaps it was aimed at the same audience that were actually buying them then and had a different mindset a bit later. But presumably that would have been a smaller prize. And this is something I come back to quite a lot, is that whole question of a high value single prize thing, but a relatively small number of prizes versus much lower value, but a huge number of prizes. And I think which is most effective can depend on brand and can depend on audience. But there's a common thread with these two promotions running through for them.
Sales promotion industry, so to speak, talks about instant wins a lot, and quite often they're not as instant as they would sound. So, and this, to be able to put something in somebody's hand in that particular way and ask for nothing more from them, whether there is a modern version of it to be as instant is a debate, I guess. But the very fact we're discussing it, 20, 25 years later, actually makes the point as to the sort of phenomena that this sort of thing was. And there's a lot of other things going on at that time that we don't remember.
I suppose we've not seen it more, actually, over the years, of people truly giving away cash. I suppose there's, cash changes, doesn't it, over time? But it's something that obviously a brand as huge as Walker's did. I'm just surprised we don't remember many more brands doing it. I wonder why not. I guess if somebody tried to do it now, I don't know whether this is me being a bit cynical, but it does feel like if they tried to do something like this now, there'd be a huge problem with sort of packets disappearing off the shelves and not being paid.
I'm sure security would be an issue.
But is that different now to then?
I don't know. I guess it's more obvious now than it was then. Just to go back to the point that you made, though, this was something that was won by an awful lot of people. I have recollections of people around me who were winners of it, and the motivating effect that has in terms of swapping brands is quite extreme versus the point that you were making of offering one very large prize, which you never quite know whether anybody has won. I do think in terms of getting brand switching, as we've seen so many times over the years, that it is this kind of broad-based giveaway that is more effective than that single prize.
I suppose there's another thing about the value of the products that you're buying and it being believable about what you're going to win, because a bag of crisps, bag of crisps back then was probably sort of 20, 30p, something like that from memory. It might not even have been that much, but I suppose that question of am I going to win 10 grand on a bag of crisps purchase, you kind of don't believe it, do you, in your own head? Whereas buying a bag of crisps for 30p and getting a fiver, that feels, this is going to happen for me.
This is just it was credible. That's what it was. It was credible. Look, I guess none of us know as to how many bags of crisps there are in a promotion. I imagine this is billions.
Far too many,
and therefore, if you actually do the maths, it is an interesting challenge. But that's not how it felt. It felt it felt something I had a chance of winning. And when there are single prizes and things, do you actually feel that?
Yeah, I suppose technically, if you think sort of from the inside view of looking at promotions, and we sort of deal with risk and we deal with how much of a prize pool is going to be taken or won or whatever, you're putting notes in bags of crisps. It's all being won. If there's a cost to it as soon as you do it. So it must have been quite I don't know what the budget was. I don't know how much money they gave away. I'm sure we can dig the terms and conditions out online somewhere. But I suspect it was a living expensive promotion, I suspect.
Well, yes, because even if if the consumer as such didn't redeem it, if you know what I mean, it was still there in a bank. So yeah, all of the money was committed immediately. Yeah.
Well, it was a good one and it was a successful one. So shall we see if we can win? I'll have 20 quid out of mine. Let's see if you can get a 5 or a 20. We'll see.
Cheese, I can't see it. So.
No, I know. We'll see what happens.